Sound check, sound check. So, hello students, welcome to Vedantu NEET English. This is Baswaratso, your biology master teacher. Students, today is gonna be one short lecture on ecosystem. All the way from the starting of the chapter based on productivity till the end of the chapter, that is ecology, that basically your pyramids, energy pyramids, pyramid of number, pyramid of biomass. Entire lecture, one shot, today, one go. Okay. Students, quickly let me know in the chat if I'm audible and visible to each and every one of you. Quickly let me know in the chat if I'm audible and visible. Okay. So good morning, each and every one of you. Now, I'll give you a scenario. Okay, ready, all of you? I'll give you a scenario. Imagine you're walking into a forest. This is a forest right here. Imagine you're walking into a forest. Okay. And when you walk into a forest, you notice trees, you notice soil, you notice water, you notice insects, you notice birds, you notice any type of microbes. Obviously, you can't see microbes and all, but yeah. So when you go to a forest, you notice each and every component in an area. Okay. Now, when you notice each and every component right here, each and every component is working like a clock. What do we mean by like a clock? That is, each and every component is interconnected. It could be biotic components or it could be abiotic components. Your biotic components as well as your abiotic components are working together. Now, what will happen, students? You tell me. If I remove this, think. What will happen if I remove this? Tell me, students. Excuse. A little bit of cold, students. Change in weather. Tell me, students, what will happen if I remove this component? Okay, what if I remove one? As soon as I remove one of the component, will there be a domino effect? Just because I removed one small insect, entire ecosystem can completely be destroyed. That is what is meaning of a ecosystem. Ecosystem is a location. Ecosystem is a location which has biotic components, abiotic components, all the components working together as the entire system. See, students, I want everyone to understand, first of all, the meaning of system. What is the meaning of a system, students? Within a system, multiple components are working together. For example, the digestive system. Inside the digestive system, we have the esophagus, we have the buccal cavity, we have the stomach, we have small intestine, large intestine. Every single component is working together to make the entire thing work. Neural system, excretory system. So system is basically multiple components are working together to make one entire thing work, just like your ecosystem. So ecosystem has your biotic components, abiotic components, everything working together to make the magic happen. And if you remove any one component, the entire ecosystem is going to be destroyed. So I believe all of you are able to understand what is exactly meaning of ecosystem. Yes or no, all of you? Tell me in the chat quickly. All of you know what is ecosystem now? Yes or no? Tell me. That is an ecosystem. So in this chapter, we'll be learning that is the structure and function, the productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and ecological pyramids. Entire 5 points, 5 different topics in today's class, starting off with the structure and function. Can we start now, students? Can we start the class? Show some energy in the chat, all of you. Some fire emoji in the chat and also some green hearts in the chat to show that yes, you are ready for today's one short lecture on ecosystem. Can we start, students? Now, the entire chapter, when I'm reading, I want everyone to carry 3 things. The first thing is you need to carry a pen, you need to carry your NCERT to read with me, and at the same time, you also need to carry a water bottle. 3 things are very important. Carry these 3 things, understand, underline, and remember. And learn in the class itself. You don't have to go back again and read one more time NCERT. So read in the class and start. Okay. Keep a pencil also perhaps. Okay. Now let's start. An ecosystem. Okay, let's start. First line itself, it says an ecosystem, it can be visualized as a functional unit of nature. Students, First line of NCERT, first question of your NCERT right here. Ecosystem can be visualized as a functional unit of nature. So if I ask you a question, what is the functional unit of nature? Your answer should be what? The functional unit of nature is ecosystem. Okay. Now, where living organisms interact among themselves. For example, see, I am interacting with you, you are interacting with me, all of us are interacting. Living component, living component. Living components are interacting with each other. Yes or no? Okay. And also with the surrounding physical environment. Okay. Ecosystem varies greatly in the size. So, okay, I'll ask you a simple question, all of you. Simple question. How big do you think an ecosystem is? Is it very big? Ecosystem is supposed to be a big forest. A desert is an ecosystem. Very big forest, very big desert. Or can the ecosystem be small also, students? Tell me, can the ecosystem be also tiny as this much? This much? Is it possible to have ecosystem as this much size? Tell me yes or no. For example, I'll give a quick example, students. Ecosystem has no boundary. Ecosystem has no boundary. That is, an ecosystem can be at microscopic level to a macroscopic level. Your house right now, your room, in fact, this room which you're sitting right now and listening to the lecture, that also is an ecosystem. For example, if you look at the corner of your room, you will find spiders. Under your bed, cockroach. In one corner, ants next to a sweet. So on your hand, there are microbes. On the pen, on the book which you're writing has microbes. So your room itself is an ecosystem. So ecosystem has no boundary. A ecosystem can be all the way from a small tiny pond or a small tiny puddle to a large ocean. So a particular ecosystem has no boundary. Remember that. No boundary. Okay. Ecosystem varies greatly in size from a small pond. Students, it can vary from a small pond. From a small pond to a large forest. To a large forest or a sea. Many ecologists regard the entire biosphere, students, entire Earth biosphere as a global ecosystem. For example, let's take Earth for example. Do we have desert on Earth? Yes, sir. Do we have deserts on Earth? Do we have tropical rainforest on Earth? Desert, yes. Forest, yes. Right? Excuse me, students. A little bit of allergies. Right. On Earth, do we have Antarctic regions? Yes, we have Antarctic regions. So on Earth, we have different types of local ecosystems which are joining together to make one entire big ecosystem. For example, say this. For example, this is our Earth. For example, this is our Earth right here. On this Earth, we can find certain areas which has, let's say snow areas, where we can find snow or Arctic regions. We have certain desert regions, desert. We have rainforest, rainforest. Yes, again we have snow region, the North Pole and South Pole. So each is called as a local ecosystem. When many local ecosystems join together, they make up the entire biosphere. This is the entire biosphere. Okay. Where were we now? Now, as a biosphere, as a global ecosystem, as a composite of all local ecosystem on Earth. Since this system is too big and complex to study at one time, it is convenient to divide the into two basic categories. Okay. For example, in your school also, can we keep the entire school as one unit? Not possible. We cannot teach the entire all the way from the class 1 to 12th in one single classroom. Not possible. Or in fact, even in your class 10th also or class 12th, do we have multiple sections? Section A, section B, section C? Yes. Because it is too complex to make all the students to gather together and teach them at once. So we always have batches. We always have sections. Yes or no? All of you have sections? Sections. Similarly, to make this entire process of studying the biosphere, to make it a much more easier to do, we have different types of classification. And the basic form, students, understand. Let me erase this for you. Never mind. Let this be here. Let me write in a different page only. To make this entire process easier, the entire ecosystem can be divided into two separate categories. Can anyone tell me what are the two broad type of classification of ecosystem? One is based on water, other one is based on land. One is called as terrestrial, one is called as your terrestrial, other one is called as your aquatic. Other one is called as your aquatic ecosystem. Now students, in terrestrial ecosystem, what do we find? In terrestrial ecosystem, we mainly find your forest, grasslands, desert, right? We mainly find the forest, desert, as well as the grasslands, at the same time. In aquatic ecosystem, we find, let's take a sea. We can have a sea, we can have an ocean. Yes, we can have ocean, we can have a pond, river, lake, anything. Pond, river, and also a lake. We can also get something called as your wetlands, and even estuaries also, as well as even estuaries. Now students, those of you are wondering what exactly is the estuary, those of you are wondering what is estuary. Estuary is technically a type of water body where your salt water and your fresh water meet together. Okay, that is an estuary. Now students, we classified ecosystem into terrestrial, aquatic. Now tell me, all of you, this one right here, is it natural or man-made? Do you think someone made the desert? Do you think someone made the forest or the sea, ponds, river, lakes, and estuaries? Or do you think entire this terrestrial and aquatic, is it natural way? Yes, it is natural. So this type of classification is said to be natural classification. It is natural way of classification. Okay, it is natural. But students, how many of you have aquarium in your house? Tell me, raise your hands. Raise your hands. How many of you have aquarium in your house? Aquarium is there. Your my house also have aquarium. So aquarium is said to be man-made. Aquarium is man-made. If you have a garden in your house, that is man-made again, or human-made. Understanding? So when we have natural, other one is called as your artificial. Now artificial, can all of you know artificial, right? Best example, almost the largest artificial, that is crop fields. Okay, we can find crop fields, aquariums. Then we also have the garden, zoos, botanical garden. All of these are examples of your artificial ecosystem. Here we have natural, artificial. Clear, all of you? No doubt here? No doubt here, students? Okay, beautiful. Now see here, since this is, we have terrestrial as well as your aquatic ecosystem. Forest, grasslands, and deserts are some examples of terrestrial ecosystem. Pond, lake, wetland, river, estuaries are examples of your aquatic ecosystem. Crop fields, aquariums, and also be considered as man-made ecosystem. Done. Okay, all this is, all of you know, terrestrial, aquatic, artificial, natural ecosystem. Okay, natural ecosystem. Now we will first look at the structure of ecosystem. So in this chapter, in today's lecture, the entire lecture today, we'll be looking at the structure. The first thing we'll be looking at structure of ecosystem, that is the physical structure. Then we'll be looking at something called as productivity today. Okay, what is productivity? Primary productivity, secondary productivity, what is your tertiary productivity? All that we'll be learning today. What is primary production? Okay, then we'll be learning something called as your food chain or food web. Okay, nutrient cycling is removed from your syllabus. Okay, then we will be learning something called as your cycles is removed, nutrient cycling is there, and then we will be learning something called as decomposition today. Okay, very simple topics, very easy chapter, line by line you understand, and there will be no doubt further. Okay, so with that being said, students, can we start today's amazing class? All of you should write down with me. Underline the lines which I'm telling you to underline, because many PYQs have directly come from the lines here. Okay, so I want everyone to start underlining, start reading with me, and also start learning with me. You don't have to go back and read again separately later on. Okay, so can we start, students? Tell me, show some energy in the chat, show some josh that yes sir, we are determined to finish our ecosystem today only. After today's lecture, ecosystem is done and dusted for all of you, and I guarantee that. Okay, let's start the class. Now, the first thing which you need to study here is the structure and function. Structure and function of your ecosystem. In earlier classes, in the previous chapter, we learned about abiotic factors. We learned about soil, water, air, and light. Yes, you have looked at the various components of the environment, abiotic and biotic. Abiotic is usually non-living and biotic is living. Biotic is always living. You studied how the individual biotic and abiotic factors affected each other and their surroundings. In the previous chapter, we learned about population, environment, and organism. Okay. Now let us look at these components in a more integrated manner and see how the flow of the energy takes place within these components of the ecosystem. That is in today's lecture. Now, interaction of biotic and abiotic components results in a physical structure. Of a that characterizes the type of ecosystem. Now, students, now we will learn something called as physical structure of ecosystem. A physical structure of ecosystem has two main components. How many components? It has two main components. First one is called as species diversity or species composition. Species composition, and second one is called as stratification. Understand, students? Understand. The entire physical structure of ecosystem has two main categories. The first one is called as your species composition or species diversity. Species composition. Okay. The second thing is called as stratification. The second thing is going to be called as stratification. Students, write down in your book all this at one point itself. Otherwise, later on it becomes difficult to study entire thing. Stratification. Now, what is the difference between stratification and what is species composition? You will understand now. What is exactly the meaning of it? Okay. Now, first I'll tell you what is species composition. For example, all of you, when you look outside your house, if you have trees, can you count the number of trees? Okay, you can count the number of trees. Can you count which type of tree is it? For example, you might have 2 mango trees, 2 guava trees, 2 apple trees. Not possible apple, unless you're in Kashmir and all. Okay, 2 neem trees, let's say. Now you can count, we have mango trees, species 1, neem tree, species 2, guava tree, species 3. So there are 3 different species of trees in your area. Similarly, in a forest, I can tell there is tiger, deer, zebra, water buffalo. Yes or no? So all of these are different species present in an area. That is called a species composition. Okay. Now see here. Is characteristic. The identification. First you did identification. Mango plant. Enumeration. Numbering it. How many mango plants of plants and animal species of an ecosystem gives its species composition. So meaning of species composition is that how many types of species are present in an area. How many types and number. Okay. Now, next thing is called as stratification. Understand what is stratification, all of you. Understand what is stratification. Okay. For example, I'll give you 2 different examples here to understand. Here we have 1 type of plant, 2nd type of plant, 3rd type of plant, and 4th type of plant. That is, there is a vertical distribution of plants. Now, this is not easy to understand. I'll give you a better understanding or better diagram. See this. For example, students, here I have a tree. Here I have a large tree here, okay, which is occupying 1 level of height. Okay. Then we have something called as shrubs here. Then we have certain shrubs here, shrubs. Some shrubs are growing here. Okay, some shrubs are growing here. Okay, shrubs. They are occupying separate level. Then we have certain herbs. Then we have certain herbs here in one level. Okay, I have certain herbs here. This is one more level. And at the fourth level, I have some grasses. Small grasses. Can you see? So here, the tree is occupying one level. Shrubs are occupying second level. Herbs are occupying your third level, and the grasses are occupying the fourth level. This is called as your vertical distribution. It is called as vertical distribution of plants. One level, second level, third level, and fourth level. Yes or no? Can all of you understand? This is called as stratification. One level, second level, third level, fourth level. It's called as vertical distribution of plants in an ecosystem. It is called as stratification. It is called as stratification. First level, again here also we have the first level right here. First, second, third, and fourth. Vertical distribution of your plants in an ecosystem. It's called as stratification. See here. Vertical distribution of different species occupying different levels. Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 is called as stratification. It is called as what? Stratification. For example, tree occupying the top vertical strata or layer of the forest, shrubs the second, herbs the third, grasses occupying the bottom layer. Grasses are present at the bottom layer. That is called as what? Stratification. Stratification. Done. Now students, understand this structure right here. One something called as species composition. Okay, I'll teach you one simple example right now. Tell me, in which location do you find more species? Do you find more species in the case of desert or Arctic regions or tropical rainforest? Tell me, in which location do you find more species? In a desert, in a snow area, Arctic region, or a tropical rainforest, or a city? Tell me, where do you find more different types of species? Obviously, tropical rainforest. Yes or no? In tropical rainforest, we'll find so many varieties of plants, so many varieties of animals. So, one monkey only 10 times 10 will be there. Monkey itself will be there. Will be 10 types of monkeys will be there. Bacteria, hundreds and thousands of types of fungi. Yes, that is called as species composition. That is called as what? Species composition. Very important line. Now this is called as vertical. This is called as your physical structure of an ecosystem. Okay. Here. Now students, all of us know right now, the ecosystem is a functional unit of nature. This entire ecosystem is held by 4 long pillars. If any of this pillar is removed, the entire ecosystem will collapse. That is productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycle. If any one of the pillar is also removed, the entire ecosystem is going to collapse here. So let us understand what is productivity, what is decomposition, what is energy flow, what is nutrient cycle with the help of an example. Yes or no? Can I tell you? Okay, I'll give you one simple example first. An everyday example. I'll teach you a everyday example first. Okay. Now, obviously you need money to survive. All of you know we need money to survive. Someone is getting money to the house. It could be your dad, mom, anyone. Someone is getting money into the house. Okay, they're getting money into the house. They're working somewhere, they're getting the money into the house. Okay, that is called as productivity. Productivity is where you produce energy or the money here. Productivity. Now students, you get the money. All of you get the money. What do you do with the money? You take the money from your parents, run party, right? Full party, spend the money, eat something, eat everything possible on pizza, burger, go eat pani puri, go completely destroy and degrade the money. Okay, so what is happening here? Decomposition of money is happening by whom? By you. All of you are decomposing the money. Yes, decomposing the money. Now students, have you ever noticed sometimes what happens is money goes from dad to mom, from mom to you. It doesn't come directly many times. It doesn't come to your hand directly. It goes from father to mother to you. In many cases, it happens. That is called as your energy flow from one trophic level to next trophic level. Then it is coming to you. That is called as energy flow. Next thing is called as nutrient cycling. What is nutrient cycling? For example, you didn't spend all the money. What did you do was you took the money and you invested somewhere and you got some returns. That is called as your cycling, nutrient cycling. Okay. Now that is your simple example to teach you, but I'll give you one more example. Okay, I'll give you one more example. Understand? I'll give you a very beautiful example. Okay. Now all of you like water. I'll give you a water example. Okay, I'll give you a water example right here. Okay. Let's take a aquatic ecosystem. This right here is a aquatic ecosystem. Okay, this right here is a aquatic ecosystem. Now students, tell me, in the aquatic ecosystem, do we have fishes? Yes or no? Tell me. Do we have fishes here? You're like, yes sir, there are fish here. But students, what is the major component here? What is the major component, abiotic component of your aquatic ecosystem? You will tell me, sir. The major component is obviously the water. Without water, we cannot have aquatic ecosystem. It is the water. Okay, it is the water. Now water will have certain organic components dissolved in it, and also it can have certain inorganic components also dissolved in it. Organic as well as inorganic components are dissolved in the water. Okay, water is there. Now students, do you find sunlight here in the ecosystem? Yes. Sunlight has to be there. Without sunlight, ecosystem is incomplete. There is sunlight. Okay, sunlight is falling on the water body. Okay. Now, do we also have air? Yes, we have air here. We have certain gas bubbles here also inside. We have gas bubbles. Air is there. Air is there. Now, in this aquatic ecosystem, at the bottom of the aquatic ecosystem, do we have soil or it is continuous with water? Tell me. Obviously, at the bottom of the ecosystem, we find soil. We find soil here. Let's take one layer of soil right here. Let's take a layer of soil. Layer of soil right here. Okay. There's a layer of soil right here. This is a layer of soil right here. Okay. Let's make it as soil. This is your soil. Now students, tell me, the soil, water, air, sunlight, air and sunlight, are all of these factors belong to abiotic or biotic? Tell me. All of these factors right here are your abiotic factors. It could be soil, water, air and sunlight. All of them are basically your abiotic factors. Okay, they are abiotic factors. Now students, to this ecosystem, let's introduce some fishes now. Okay, let's introduce some fish. Tell me, which some fish do you like? Let's introduce one small fish here. There's a fish coming up here. One fish is here. Okay, we'll introduce one more fish here. Okay. One more fish is added here. Let's say two fishes are there in this ecosystem. Now students, in this ecosystem, any type of ecosystem, do we have this tiny microscopic organisms called as your phytoplanktons? Yes or no? We have this tiny microscopic phytoplanktons everywhere. Yes, we have phytoplanktons. Phytoplanktons are here. It's free floating. Phytoplanktons are free floating. Okay, these are called as your phytoplanktons. Now students, tell me, who is feeding on the phytoplanktons? The organism which is feeding on the phytoplankton is called as a zooplankton. Okay, there is a zooplankton which is eating this. There are zooplanktons which are eating the phytoplanktons. Okay, we also have the zooplanktons. Okay, zooplanktons. In an aquatic ecosystem, do we have certain algae, bacteria and everything growing? Decomposers. Okay, let's add some decomposers here. Let's add some decomposers right here. Okay, we have the decomposers right here. These are your decomposers, which basically your algae, bacteria. This is your algae, bacteria and certain fungi also. Mainly, mostly fungi. These are basically your decomposers. Even certain, let's say, even protozoans are also there. Protozoans are also there. Now, on this soil, can you see some plants are growing? On this soil, we can see certain submerged plants. We can see certain submerged plants also in this ecosystem. The submerged plants. Now, students, tell me, these plants, algae, phytoplanktons, zooplanktons, fishes, all of these components, are they part of biotic or abiotic? Tell me now. Are they part of biotic or abiotic? Tell me, all of you. You will tell me, sir, your zooplankton, phytoplankton, fishes, algae, bacteria, fungi, each and every component is biotic component. Yes, it is biotic component. It is biotic component. Now, with this much information, can we explain all the four pillars here? Yes, we can explain the four pillars. For example, tell me, what is productivity? What is productivity, students? Productivity is basically the energy generation, energy production. Can this phytoplankton, can this algae, and can this submerged plants, can they do a process called as photosynthesis and produce the food in the aquatic ecosystem? Yes, they can. Yes. So this is check. What is happening? Can, when the fishes die, when the fishes are dying, when the algae is dying, when the zooplanktons and phytoplanktons are dying, every single component is decomposed by your bacteria, fungi, and protozoans. So decomposition is there. Decomposition is happening. Energy flow is happening. That is, phytoplankton is eaten by zooplankton. Zooplankton is eaten by fish, and we are, for example, let's say, who wants to volunteer? Who wants to, let's say, Money. Let's take Money only today. Money, new name. So Money is present here. He is doing fishing. When fishing has been done, fish is taken and eaten. So energy flow is happening. Yes, energy flow is happening. Okay. The last thing is called as nutrient cycling. What is nutrient cycling? When the fishes, zooplanktons, phytoplanktons, submerged plants, when everything dies, what happens? All the nutrients is sent back to the soil. Sent back to the soil. And from the soil, again, your plants are taking up the nutrition and they are growing. They are growing. So nutrient cycling is also happening. These are called as your four different pillars of your ecosystem. Done? All of you understood? All of you understood? Yes or no? This is called as your four pillars of ecosystem, and each and every one of them will be learning in today's class. Okay, we'll be learning in today's class. Good morning, everyone. Okay. Now, to understand the ethos, means levels of aquatic ecosystem, let's take a small example of a pond as an example. This is fairly self-sustaining. Yes, ecosystem is self-sustaining. Okay. Unit and rather simple example that explains even the complex interactions that exist in an aquatic ecosystem. A pond is shallow water body in which all the above mentioned four basic components of ecosystem are well exhibited. In a pond, everything is well exhibited in a pond ecosystem. Okay. Now, abiotic components such as your water, along with which has dissolved inorganic and organic substances, the rich soil deposits at the bottom of the pond, the solar input, the sun, the cyclic temperature, day length, and other climatic conditions regulate the rate of function of the entire pond. The autotrophic components include your phytoplanktons and some algae and floating, submerged, and marginal plants. They are the producers, yes, found at the edge. The consumers are represented by zooplankton, okay, and free floating bottom dwelling forms. The decomposers are fungi, bacteria, and flagellated, especially abundant in the bottom of the pond. This system performs all the functions of ecosystem of the and biosphere as a whole. The conversion of inorganic to organic, plants are doing that. Okay. With the help of radiant energy of the sun by autotrophs, consumption of autotrophs by heterotrophs, the zooplankton is eating the phytoplankton, consumption, energy flow, decomposition and mineralization by the dead matter and release them back to the reuse by the autotrophs, that is your nutrient cycling. These events are repeated over and over again. There is a unidirectional, very important line. There is a unidirectional movement of energy towards the higher tropic level. I will explain this again one more time later on. And it is dissipation and loss as heat to the environment. This right here is your entire explanation of the pond ecosystem, which explains, this pond ecosystem explains the 4 different pillars of ecosystem. Productivity, repeat after me students, productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling. Repeat after me one more time. First one is called as productivity, decomposition, energy flow, as well as your last one is nutrient cycling. The 4 different pillars of ecosystem. Okay. Now let's see how many of you can solve this question. Simple question, go on your board. On your board, quickly. Now, the question is asking you which match the following natural terrestrial ecosystem. It's not natural, it's man-made. Desert is natural, right? Desert is natural terrestrial ecosystem. Freshwater ecosystem, that is your pond. Anthropogenic means man-made or human-made ecosystem, that is crop field. Marine ecosystem is ocean ecosystem. So what is the answer? Tell me, students. What is the answer? What is the answer? Tell me quickly in the chat, quickly. Full rapid fire answer I want. So A is going to be C. 1 is C. Okay. And 2 is going to be D. So option number 1. Option number 1. Okay. Look at this question. Energy enters an ecosystem through carnivores, decomposes, produces, herbivores. Let me tell you, students, plants are also called as what? Plants are also called as producers. With the help of producers, energy is entering into the ecosystem. So the answer is producers. The answer is going to be producers. Next question. Look at the image given below and identify the represented structural features of an ecosystem. Is it trophic organization here? Is it species composition? Is it a food chain, or is it stratification? Trees, shrubs, herbs, grasses. Vertical distribution is called as what? What do you call the vertical distribution, students? Quick answers I want, students. This laziness I don't want from all of you. No laziness. And also all of you drink some water now. Quickly, drink some water. Yes, even for KCET this will help you. Don't worry. Mohit Raja, KCET also will help you, obviously. Same thing. No laziness, everyone. No laziness. That is going to be your stratification. Obviously, stratification. Okay. Now, quickly, one more question, all of you. One more question. Quickly. NEET 2024. This year question. This year, fresh off the menu question for all of you. What is incorrect about ecosystem? It can vary from size of a small pond to large sea. Yes, it can vary. This is absolutely correct. It may be anthropogenic in origin. Yes, it can be human made. It may be temporary or permanent. Yes. Temporary, permanent. See, temporary can be there. Yes. Okay. Next, last question or last option you see. It involves function of energy flow. Okay. But not recycling of nutrients, students. Did we learn that in the case of your ecosystem, is there nutrient recycling? Yes or no? Tell me quickly. Yes or no? You tell me. Do you find nutrient cycling? Yes, sir. We find nutrient cycling. What is the answer? D for Diksha, sir. Yes or no? D for Diksha, sir. Yes. Done. Okay. Now. So with that, the first introduction part is over. And I believe all of you are on board, all of you are understanding, and all of you are writing with me. That is very important. Okay. Now we will start something called as your productivity. Ready, all of you? Ready? Productivity. Can we start? Productivity now. Let's start. Okay. Productivity. Now here there is a major confusion with students, which I will clear for you by giving you a proper definition. Okay. So learn the definition and you will be crystal clear. No confusion whatsoever. Okay. The constant input of solar energy is the basic requirement for any ecosystem to function and sustain. Students, is it true or false? This statement right here, is it true or false? A constant input of solar radiation is a basic requirement for any ecosystem. Is it true for all ecosystems? Tell me now. Is it true for all the ecosystems, or is there any exception? Tell me. Do you find any exception, or is this thing true for every single ecosystem, or do you find exception there? How many of you have heard something called as geothermal ecosystem? In geothermal ecosystem, it is not the solar input. Remember that. So it is not true for all the ecosystems. And let me tell you, this is given your NCERT itself. It is given your NCERT, and there's a very high chance that if you don't read line by line of NCERT, you will miss that line. Okay? So I will tell you exactly when it comes. Exception, it is there. That is geothermal ecosystem. It is going to come. It's there in NCERT. This is how they play with you. Okay? They'll give you a line and they will contradict a line in the future. Okay? So remember, it is false. There is exception there. Okay? Now, primary production is defined as, what is primary production? What is primary production? Now tell me, students, when you think of primary producers, what comes to your mind? Does the animal come to your mind, or a plant comes to your mind? Tell me. Primary producers, tell me. A plant, or do we get a plant, or do we get an animal? You tell me, sir. Obviously, primary producers are your plants. So definition should include plants. Yes or no? Definition of primary producers should include plants. See, primary production is defined as the amount of biomass in our body, biomass or organic matter produced per unit area in one area, okay, over a period by plants during photosynthesis is called as primary production. I'll give you a simple example. Okay, tell me, in your house, money is coming. It is coming. Okay, now here, when the money is coming to your house, it's called productivity. Similarly, here also, plants are producing food, plants are producing photosynthate, plants are producing glucose. All of this glucose produced per unit area on one area, 10 kilometers land, 1 acre land. For how much of time? 1 year, 2 months, 6 months is called as primary production. I'll read again one more time, understand. Is defined as the amount of biomass, that is the food basically, biomass or organic matter produced per unit area over a time period by plants during photosynthesis is called as primary production. It is called as what? Primary production, or productivity. Production. Understand? It is called as primary production. And primary production can be represented by two ways. Primary production can be represented by two ways. The first one is by weight, other one is by, students tell me, one is given by your weight, other one is given by energy. So primary production can be defined in two ways. It can be represented in two ways. First one is by weight or biomass, you can say weight or biomass, and second one is by energy. Second one is by energy. Boost secret of my energy. Okay, so two different ways you can represent. And when you represent by weight, how do you write it? When you represent it by weight, students, when you represent it by weight, you write your expression as your mg per meter square. So gm per meter square, grams per meter square. When you represent by energy, you write it as your kilocalories per meter square. Kilocalories per meter square. This is called as primary production. Now, what students tell me? In your house, money is coming. Okay, not money. Students, because of the cold, I'm not able to say money. Okay, so you get somehow you're getting money into your house. Okay. Now, does it come on monthly basis, or does it come on daily basis, or does it come on yearly basis? Tell me in the chat now quickly. In your house, is the money coming into daily basis, business, weekly basis, again business in some cases, or if you're in US, 2 times the salary comes, okay, into your house, or is it monthly basis? Tell me quickly. It depends. It depends. the rate of entering into your bank account is variable. It is variable, right? It is variable. Similarly, here also, the rate of biomass production, the rate, this word is very important. The rate of biomass production is called as productivity. Here we have production. Production is happening here. But at what rate it is happening? Is the biomass produced at 6 months, 3 months, 1 day, 10 days, 1 year, 10 years? The rate of biomass production, the rate of biomass production is called as productivity. That is called as productivity. And as you can see here, see, it's gram per meter square. Again, by weight or biomass, but per year, per year. Kilocalories per meter square per year. So when you write the rate here, it becomes productivity. It becomes productivity now. Productivity. And students, remember, productivity can be of two types. We have something called as primary productivity. We have something called as primary productivity and secondary productivity. Very important. Primary productivity as well as your secondary productivity. Difference you should understand right now. There are two types of productivities: primary productivity and secondary productivity. Now, what is primary productivity and what is secondary productivity? Understand right now. Okay. Now, primary productivity, students. First of all, primary productivity. Primary productivity is always produced by plants. Simple. Primary productivity is produced by plants, or primary productivity is produced by the first trophic level. Primary productivity is always produced by producers. And tell me, students, who is the producers right now? Tell me, who are the producers now? Who are the producers? The producers are your plants. So primary productivity is technically given by whom? Primary productivity is technically given by the plants. And this primary productivity can be further classified into GPP and NPP. GPP and NPP, understand? Okay. To compare the productivity of different ecosystems, it can be divided into gross primary productivity and net primary productivity. Gross primary productivity is what I'll tell you. I need one volunteer from the chat now. I need a volunteer. Who wants to volunteer? Quickly. Anyone? Orange trio? Smart boy? Anyone? Who wants to volunteer? One person I want. Only one person. I will give him salary now. Anyone volunteer from the chat? Quickly, quickly raise your hands. I'll drink some water in that. Okay. So we have primary productivity as GPP, NPP. We have secondary productivity. Both are different. Let's take Sony today. Let's take Sony. Okay. Now, for example, Sony's yearly salary. Sony yearly salary is around, let's take 15 lakhs. 15 lakhs salary yearly. I am giving Sony 15 lakh salary, students. 15 lakh salary I am giving to Sony. How many students? 15 lakh salary to Sony per year. 15 lakhs. Okay. 15 lakhs. 15 lakhs. Now, this is called as a CTC. Called as CTC. 15 lakhs. Okay. And when you do the calculation, you will get more than 1 lakh per month. Aram se you will like, oh, I can buy whatever I want. But when you see your yearly pay slip, you will notice that you only got around 12 lakhs. Later you get to know you actually are getting only 12 lakh in this. CTC is saying 15 lakhs, but you're getting only 12 lakhs. Tax is getting cut. Tax is getting cut. Yes or no? Similarly, this is called as your gross. This is called as your gross, and this is called as net. Net is basically after the tax has been cut. I'll give you one more example, quickly understand. For example, a plant is able to produce around, let's say, 1000 molecules of glucose. 1000 molecules of glucose. This is called as gross primary productivity. Gross primary productivity. 1000 molecules of glucose. Okay. Now this 1000 molecules of glucose plant is producing. Now do you think plant is producing so much? Do you think the plants will use, or will the plants give us almost all the 1,000 molecules? Take it and enjoy. I don't want anything. No. Out of this 1,000 molecules of glucose, 90% will be used by plants. For example, I am a plant now. I am a plant. I will take the 90% of this 1,000 molecules. Tell me, what is the 90% of 1,000, students? Tell me. 90% of 1,000 is 900 molecules of glucose is taken or used by the plants, and remaining 100 is given to the consumers. This is called as your gross primary productivity. How much the plant is producing on its own using sunlight. Plants are producing gross primary productivity. What is available to consumer? This is called as your net primary productivity. It is called as net primary productivity. Gross, net. Net is available to whom? To the consumers. Can we take the gross? Not possible. We cannot touch the gross. Okay, we cannot touch the gross. Gross is only available to the almighty plants. Gross primary productivity is only available to the plants. What are we getting? We are getting the net primary productivity. Okay, understood, all of you? It can be divided into gross primary productivity GPP and net primary productivity NPP. Gross primary productivity of an ecosystem is the rate of production of organic matter during photosynthesis. That is gross. A considerable amount of GPP is utilized by the plants. Plants are using some GPP. I told you here, 90% is used by the plants. This usage is called as respiration loss. It is called as what? Respiration loss or respiratory loss. Where plants are using it. This is called as R value. It is called as what? R value. So R value is basically plants are using it. That is in respiration. So gross primary productivity minus respiration gives us the GPP. So students, what is this? This is basically GPP. This is basically your GPP right here. GPP minus the R, you get the NPP. So GPP minus R equals NPP. Done. Understood, all of you? GPP minus R is equal to NPP. Okay. Then what is secondary productivity then? Now students, okay, I'll need one more volunteer. I need one more volunteer, students, quickly. Anyone wants to volunteer? Let's take Divya. Okay, let's take Divya only. Okay, I'm seeing her name, very fancy cursive writing is there. Okay, so Divya, now for example, here we took Sony. Sony is getting, let's take 12 lakhs rupees in her account now. This is NPP which Sony is getting. NPP which Sony is getting 12 lakh now. From this 12 lakh rupees, from 12 lakh rupees, Divya is getting now. Divya is borrowing some money. He's like, please give me some money. I need some money in my life. Okay. From this 12 lakh rupees, let's say Divya is taking 2 lakh. From this is net payment. This is the NPP. NPP is 1,000. Consumers are getting something. Now, consumer is also producing some productivity. Like how from this 12 lakh, Divya got 2 lakh. From this, consumer is also producing some productivity. That is called as your secondary productivity. Students. The secondary productivity is productivity done by the consumers. It is done by the consumers. Understand? See here. Secondary productivity is defined as the rate of formation of new organic matter by the consumers. Here's the definition of each and everything. I will give you exactly 20 seconds. Read the lines, understand. If you're not able to understand, quickly ask me. This is very important. Time starts now. Time started. Tick tick is going. Read the lines. Tell me if you're not able to understand any line also here. If you're understanding, quickly some fire emoji in the chat. If you're understanding, fire emoji in the chat, because I have to know, right? Confirmation is important. So if you're understanding, fire emoji in the chat, and I will understand. Yes, it's very easy for everyone to understand the concept of productivity now. Done? All of you done? Yes or no? Done? Okay. I think it's done. Everyone is understanding the difference between primary productivity, primary production, and secondary productivity now. Secondary productivity. Okay. Primary productivity depends on the plant species inhabiting a particular area. Yes or no? For example, I'll give you a quick example. In grasslands, let's take a grassland here. Grassland and tropical rainforest. Here we have less plants. Here we have more plants. Tell me, in which location do you find more productivity? Tell me, students. In which location do you find more productivity? Tell me quickly in the chat. In grasslands or tropical rainforest? Tell me. I'll write a heading only for you, all of you. The heading is said to be factors affecting productivity. Factors affecting productivity. Okay. The first thing is going to be plant species. Obviously, plant species plays main role. Certain plant species are very large. You tell me, all of you think logically. A banyan tree will give me more prime productivity, or a small grass will give me productivity. Tell me, banyan tree or grass? Banyan tree. So plant species make sense. Okay. Second thing is called as nutrients. If there are more nutrients, more productivity. Less nutrients, less productivity. Desert, less productivity. Tropical rainforest, more productivity. Simple. Third thing is called as photosynthetic capacity. Photosynthetic capacity of the plant. Okay, that also plays a major role. Three main factors given your NCERT also. Okay, let's read here. It also depends on the variety of the environmental factors, availability of nutrients, photosynthetic capacity of the plant. Okay, first one is basically plant species. Three main points given here. Okay, therefore it varies in different types of ecosystems. The annual net primary productivity of the whole biosphere is said to be around 170 billion tons. Very important. 170 billion tons is the annual net primary productivity. Okay. And out of this 170 billion tons, students, tell me, on Earth, do we have more water or do we have more land? Tell me, all of you. You know a globe. You have seen Earth is called as a blue planet. The Earth is called as a blue planet because 70% of our Earth is covered by oceans. So if 70% is covered by oceans, technically speaking, shouldn't we have oceans producing more productivity? It is not the case. See here. Despite occupying 70% of the surface, the productivity of the oceans are only 55 billion tons. So only and only 55 billion tons is shown by your water or the oceans. Rest, of course, is on the land. So out of the 170 billions total, 55 is given by the ocean. So students, tell me, how much productivity is given by land now? How much productivity is given by terrestrial ecosystem? Tell me. Out of 170, 55 is water. Then land is supposed to be? Tell me. Land is supposed to be? Okay. Now discuss the main reason, obviously because the land has more plants. Okay. Solve this question, all of you. Solve this question. This right here is basically your 2023 question on your board right now. Let's see how many of you tell the answer. I'll give you 10 seconds. Let's see who answers first. Let's see who answers first also. Quickly, quickly. GPP minus R is NPP, the gross primary productivity. The NPP is net primary productivity, and the R is basically respiratory loss. Yes. The amount of biomass or organic matter produced per unit area over a period of time by plants during photosynthesis is called as primary production. Yes or no? Primary production it is. Rate is productivity. Rate is going to be productivity. Production is a definition right here. Primary production. Primary production. Okay. So with that, the concept of your major concept of productivity is done and done. Okay. So you're solving questions, you're understanding the concept, and you're going further ahead. Students, quickly smash that like button right now. And let us know in the comment section later on also. Don't forget to comment later on that how is the class, because it motivates. And honestly telling you students, how will other students know that this class was good? It's your duty to tell the other students that yes, this class was worth it. My time is not wasted. I am understanding and I'm learning something in this class. It is your duty to do that. It's your duty. Okay. So let's go with the next concept now. That is called as decomposition. Can we start? Tell me. Can we start? Yes or no? Let's go. Let's go. Decomposition. Yes. Decomposition starting right now. Okay. Decomposition. Okay. NEET, if I speak in Hindi, gone. All of you know, right? If I speak in Hindi, ears will start to bleed. Such bad Hindi. What to do? If I start speaking Hindi, you're like, oh my god, what is sir saying? Okay. So yeah. Now, next thing is called as decomposition. Okay. Tell me, students, what comes to your mind if I say, when I talk about decomposition, what comes to your mind? Tell me. Today I have DNA class. Today I have a DNA class at 4 p.m. Today I have a DNA class at 4 p.m. All of you know, right? DNA is at 4 p.m. Okay. From Kota. Oh, Kota people are also here. One second, student. DNA class at 4 p.m. today. Yeah. One line Hindi. Hindi I can't talk, students. Hindi is very difficult. Okay. Students, let's take 2 minutes break. Okay, I'll come back. I'll give a 2 minutes break. Let's take a 5 minutes break. I'll go drink some water. I think my water is over right now. I'll go drink some water and come. Okay. So let's take a 5 minutes break and I'll come back. Okay. 5 minutes break. What do you say? Okay. So hello students, welcome back, welcome back. Now let's start with the remaining topics. That is, okay, where did I keep the pen? That's in my pocket. Okay. Now let's start with something called as decomposition. Let's start something called with decomposition right now. Okay, let's start with something called as decompositions. Okay. Now you may have heard about the earthworm being the referred to as the farmer's friend. Okay. Sad. Instead of telling anything, they're telling earthworm is the farmer's friend. Okay, earthworm is the farmer's friend. This is so because they help in breakdown of complex organic matter as well as loosening the soil. Okay, they help in loosening the soil as well as breaking down the matter. Okay. Similarly, decomposers break down the complex organic matter into inorganic substances. So what does decomposers do, students? A decomposer will break down complex organic substance into inorganic substance So organic to inorganic conversion is happening because of decomposers are doing that, organic to inorganic substance. Okay. Now, like carbon dioxide, water, and nutrients, and the process is called as decomposition. This process of conversion organic substance into inorganic substance is called as decomposition. The dead plants remaining such as your leaves, bark, flower, and dead remains of the animals, including fecal matter, is called as your detritus. So all of you are learning a new line word right now called as detritus. Now what exactly is detritus? Yes. What exactly detritus? Detritus is basically the dead and decaying matter. It could be a dead plant, a dead animal, one stupid insect going in the one corner, or it could be leaves, fecal matter, waste material. Everything is called as the detritus. Everything is called as detritus. Okay. Now, which is the raw material for decomposition? So when I say organic matter is converted to inorganic matter, the organic matter which I am referring to here is called as your detritus. It is called as what? Detritus. It is called as detritus. So detritus is getting converted, that is organic matter is converted to inorganic matter. Okay. So detritus is getting converted. Okay. Students, there is a confusion in DNA class. I didn't even know today morning they have changed the schedule. Okay, so before I go to the bed one day before, I check my schedule and I take a sleep. Okay, I sleep and next day morning I plan the class one day before itself. When I checked the schedule yesterday morning, I had YouTube class at 11. 4 o'clock I had DNA and I was like, okay, fine. Suddenly they're changing the DNA batch timing. Today morning they changed. Okay. So I've spoken to the team right now. They're canceling that session because there was no schedule one day before, right? So they're canceling the today's DNA class. I think I will take it in the evening today, or I'll take it tomorrow in the morning time. Okay, tomorrow and day after, one extra class is there. So don't worry. Okay. Exactly, it was not there. It was never mentioned. So yeah, scam. Suddenly some scam happened with me. Early morning now on scam. Exactly. Yesterday the class was not there. Yesterday before I sleep, the class was not there. Suddenly today morning on class. Okay. So yeah. Now, which is the raw? All of you understood, right? Decomposition is a process where organic substance is converted to inorganic substance, and the organic substance is called as detritus. So detritus is the organic substance which is converted to inorganic, and this entire process is called as decomposition. Okay, the entire process is called as decomposition. All of you understood? Yes or no? All of you understood? Nice. Ouch. One second, students. Now, there are multiple steps in decompositions now. Okay, there are multiple steps in decompositions. Understand one by one. Okay, we'll start. What exactly is happening in your decomposition? Like, understand, students. Understand decomposition. What exactly is happening in the case of decomposition? There are multiple steps. There are 5 main steps here. Okay, the first step is called as fragmentation. The first step is called as fragmentation. First step is called as fragmentation. Now, what exactly is happening in the case of fragmentation? In the case of fragmentation, a friendly earthworm, students, friendly earthworm is breaking the detritus. It is breaking the detritus into fragments. Into fragments. It is breaking the detritus into fragments. That is called as fragmentation. Obviously, the name is fragmentation, so fragments should be formed. Second thing is called as leaching. It is called as leaching. Now, what exactly is happening in the case of leaching? Understand, students. In the case of leaching, water insoluble substance, water insoluble substance is sent down into the earth. It is sent down into the earth underground. Basically, all the water insoluble substance is directly going down, and it is never available. It basically becomes unavailable salts or unavailable salts. It becomes unavailable salts. Gone. Unavailable salts, it is gone completely. You will never get it back. Okay, never get it back. The third step is called as catabolism. In the case of catabolism, what is happening here? Bacterial and fungal enzyme. Bacterial and fungi is working here. Nice work they are doing. Bacterial and fungal enzymes are working on detritus now. Enzymes are working right now. Okay, so catabolism. Now, what is the fourth step? The fourth step is called as humification. Very important step. Fourth step is called as humification. In the case of humification, there is something being formed here. In humification, there is formation of something called as humus. It's called as humus. Okay, so there is humus formation, not hummus. Humus formation is happening here. Okay, humus formation is happening here. Okay, humus formation is happening in the case of humification. Here the properties here, I'll tell you properties. Now, last step is called as mineralization. In which we find minerals are formed here. So first we have, I have hit my leg by mistake. Fragmentation, leaching, catabolism, humification, and mineralization. All of you, I want everyone to repeat after me now. All of you repeat after me. The first step is called as what? Fragmentation. Then we have leaching. Then we have catabolism. Then we have humification. And finally, the fifth one is mineralization. Repeat after me, all of you. Type it in the chat also. The first thing is called as what? Fragmentation. Second thing is called as what? Leaching. Third one is called as what? Your catabolism, humification, and finally mineralization. 5 main steps are happening here. Okay, that is FLCHM. I don't even know if it makes sense. FLCHM. Okay, FLCHM. That is fragmentation, leaching, catabolism, humification, and mineralization. Very important steps. Okay, now detrivores, that is earthworm, break down the detritus into smaller particles by process called as fragmentation. So in fragmentation, earthworm is breaking the detritus into fragments. By the process of leaching, water soluble inorganic nutrients go down into the soil horizon and get precipitated as unavailable salts. Organic substances are going down into the soil horizon, so they are not available. That is called as leaching. Bacterial and fungal enzymes degrade the detritus into simple inorganic substance. This process is called as catabolism. Here, fungal enzyme, they are making inorganic substance in the case of your catabolism. in the case of catabolism. Okay, it is important to note that all the above steps decomposition operates simultaneously. It is not like one after another. It is not like one after another. All of this is happening simultaneously. That is fragmentation, leaching, and humidification. All or catabolism. All is happening simultaneously. Okay. Now, humidification, mineralization occurs during decomposition in the soil. Humidification leads to the accumulation of a dark, very important, dark amorphous structure called as humus. Not hummus, humus. Okay, humus. Now, what are the properties here, students? It is a dark amorphous structure. It is a dark amorphous substance. Dark amorphous substance. Okay, amorphous substance. It is highly resistant to microbial action. High resistance to microbial action. Okay, undergoes decomposition at extremely slow rate. Slow decomposition. Students, I want everyone to write this next to your book. Everyone write this next to your book, and also in the chat also. The more you write and learn, you will remember better, because every single point here is a NEET previous year question. I'm not even kidding. Okay, when the question comes, you will cry. Okay, being colloidal in nature, it serves as a reservoir of nutrients. So it is colloidal in nature. It is colloidal in nature. It is colloidal in nature. Colloidal, CLLO. Colloidal in nature, and also it has nutrients. It also has nutrients. Dark amorphous structure, highly resistant to microbial action, slow decomposition, colloidal, nutrient reservoir. Okay, nutrient reservoir. Okay. Yeah, we won't cry. Thank God, you should not cry for all this. Okay. The humus is further degraded by some microbes, and release of inorganic nutrients occur by a process called as mineralization. So in mineralization, we have inorganic nutrients are coming out. Okay. Now, students, I believe all of you wrote down this. This is very important. Many questions will come from here. No doubt. Okay. Now, this paragraph right here also harbors many PYQs. Many PYQs from this paragraph right here. Many PYQs. Understand one by one. Okay, Okay, many PYQs are here. So let's read this paragraph very carefully. Okay, it's called as factors affecting decomposition. Factors affecting decomposition. Okay, write down. Decomposition is largely an oxygen required process. So first step is O2 is required. Okay. The rate of decomposition is controlled by chemical composition of detritus and climatic factors. So second thing is chemical composition of detritus. So can I tell, simply I can tell quality of detritus matters. Okay, quality of detritus matters. Okay. Now, decomposition rates is slower if detritus is rich in lignin and chitin. Very important, I mark it. Many people. So decomposition is slower. Decomposition is slow when it has something called as lignin and chitin. Okay. Now, and quicker if detritus is rich in nitrogen and water soluble substances like your sugar, basically your cellulose. Okay, it is going to be fast. When it is going to be fast, if it is rich in nitrogen, if it is rich in nitrogen and sugar. Okay. Now, the temperature and soil moisture are also important climatic factors that regulate the decomposition through the effect on the activities of the soil microbes. Warm and moist environment favors decomposition. So, warm and moist conditions. Warm and moist conditions will do what? Increase decomposition. Increase the decomposition. Okay. Whereas low temperature anaerobic inhibits the decomposition, resulting in the building up of the organic matter. Okay. Students, are you writing down? Low temperature, and if oxygen is not present, that is anaxogenic condition, what has happened? The decrease in decomposition rate. Here. Okay, so I'll read for all of you one more time. Write down, yes or no. First thing is called as what? Factors affecting decompositions. More oxygen, more decomposition, obviously. Quality of matter, that is slow in the presence of lignin and chitin, fast in the case of nitrogen and sugar. Warm and moist condition will increase the decomposition. Low temperature and unoxygenic anaerobic condition will decrease the decomposition. Okay, anaerobiosis, that is lack of oxygen, will decrease the decomposition. So this every single thing matters here, and if this is not maintained properly, decomposition will go down and down and down. Okay, done students? Done? Yes. This is your decomposition cycle. Okay, first we have a tree. Okay, first we have a tree here. A leaf, green leaf falls on the ground. Some are eaten by insects and other animals. Nutrients are entering the food web. Okay, first is fragmentation by the leaf, by the earthworms. Okay, then some amount is sent to the inorganic soil, that is leaching. Here we have leaching. Nutrients are leached into the soil. Then what happens here? Then we have catabolism. That is leaves partially decomposed, consumed by decomposers such as fungi and bacteria. They begin to lose and become litter. This is basically catabolism. Then here we have humification, further decomposed by the earthworms and bacteria and soil mites and fungi. Finally, mineralization happens, and they're sent back to the leaf, sent back to the plant. Mineralization. Minerals like your different type of inorganic minerals, potassium, magnesium, calcium, all everything is picked up by your tree again. This is the entire cycle. Read the question, all of you. Read the question quickly. Read the question and solve the answer. Read the question. Which of the following factors does not affect the rate of decomposition of organic matter? Does not impact. Tell me quickly. Chemical composition of detritus matters. Quality matters. Environmental temperature matters. Anaerobiosis matters. The oxygen condition matters. Photosynthetic ability of producers does not matter. Right? True. All of you understanding? Photosynthetic ability of producers does not matter in the decomposition. Next question you see. I'll give you time. Read the question and solve. Identify the correct statements. Detritivores perform fragmentation. The humus is further degraded by some microbes during mineralization. Okay. Water soluble inorganic substances go down into the soil and get precipitated as process called as leaching. Detritus food chain begins with living organisms. No, does not. Earthworm break down the detritus into small fragments by process called as catabolism. No, that is called as fragmentation. So what is the answer? Option number 2, A, B and C only. Next question. Decomposition is a process in which detritus is degraded into simple substance by microbes. Okay. Decomposition is faster if detritus is rich in lignin and chitin. Students, tell me, lignin and chitin will do increase or decrease? Lignin and chitin will decrease the rate of decomposition, not increase. It will decrease. Okay. So statement number 1 is correct. Statement number 2 is wrong. 1 is correct. 2 is incorrect. Next question you see. Identify the correct set of statements with regard to properties of humus. Highly resistant to microbial action. Dark colored amorphous substance. End product of detritus food chain? No, it is not. Reservoir of nutrients? Yes. Undergoes decomposition very fast? No. Very slow decomposition. Very slow decomposition. We wrote here. Remember? Slow decomposition, colloidal, nutrients, resistant to microbial action, dark amorphous substance. Dark amorphous substance. What is the answer? Tell me now. The answer is going to be, 1, 2, 3. That is A, B, and D. 1 is the answer. 1 is the answer. Next question you see. Which of the following is not correct? Not correct. Okay. Regarding the decomposition of waste. Low temperature inhibits decomposition. Yes, it inhibits. Low temperature inhibits. Okay. It inhibits. Okay. Warm and moist environment favors the process. Yes. See, warm and moist favors. We learned. The process is anaerobic, students. Students, tell me, is it anaerobic or do we need oxygen here? We need oxygen. It is slower if detritus is rich in protein and carbohydrate. It is slower. Right? It is slower. Incorrect. Incorrect. Detritus is degraded into simple inorganic substance by fungus and bacterial enzymes. Yes. Correct. So tell me, which are the wrong statements now? Which are the wrong statements? Which are the wrong statements? Low temperature inhibits decomposition, right? Low temperature decrease in decomposition. So that statement is also correct. That statement also is correct. Okay. So which are the incorrect statements here? The incorrect statements are basically your C, D are incorrect here. C and D. Yes. Tell me the answer. Students, A is correct. No, A is correct. See, A is correct because low temperature is inhibiting decomposition. Yes or no? Low temperature is inhibiting decomposition. Low temperature is inhibiting decomposition. So it's correct. First statement is correct. Do you realize? First statement is correct here. Okay. So 3 is the answer. 3 is the answer. Okay. The question says, which of the following is not correct? The question is asking you, which of the following is not correct regarding the decomposition? This is not correct. This is not correct. Rest everything is correct. Understood, all of you? Understood? The question is asking you, which of the following is not correct? So C and D are not correct because we need oxygen and it is slower. No, it is always faster in the presence of protein and carbohydrates. It is faster in the presence of protein and carbohydrate. All of you understood the question now? All of you understood? Tell me yes or no. All of you understood? Yes? Good question, no? Good question. Understood, right? Beautiful. Now, next thing. The rate of decomposition is not related to chemical composition of detritus and climatic factor, students. Is it not related? It is related. It is related. Statement is wrong. In a particular climatic condition, decomposition rate is faster if it is rich in lignin and chitin, students. Tell me, is it faster in lignin and chitin? No, it is slower. It is slower, right? Tell me, it is slower. So what is the answer? Tell me now. Both statements are wrong. Students, do you realize from this paragraph right here? Do you realize from this particular paragraph, how many questions have come right now? Do you get an idea? Do you get an idea right now from this paragraph right here, which I made you write? How many questions came? And from this paragraph right here, from this paragraph here, and this paragraph right here. From 3 slides, you have gotten at least around 10 questions from every single, like if you count all the years, around 10 to 15 questions have come from 3 slides. Okay. So both are wrong here. Both are wrong. Both are wrong here. Okay, both are wrong. So with that, your entire concept of decomposition is over. Done. I want everyone to participate in the chat and tell me, yes sir, I will go and revise the chapter one more time today. So promise me, all of you. Promise me out of today's class, you will sit and read NCERT one more time. If you can watch this lecture in 2x speed, in 1.5x speed, to get a better clarity on the concepts, to get a better clarity on the important points which I'm telling you. Okay. And if you have any doubt, you can always let me know in the comment section. I will reply to it and I will tell the correct answer also. Okay. So don't worry. Now, with that being said, students, we are coming towards the end of the chapter now. Unfortunately or fortunately, we are coming towards the end of the chapter. We only have 2 topics left. Only 2 topics left. We only have a topic called as energy flow and a topic called as pyramids. If these 2 topics are over, chapter is over. Chapter is over, students, if these 2 topics are over. So let's go with the same energy and let's finish chapter today. One shot, one go. Let's go. Okay. Let's start now. Except, students, in the starting I told you, right? There was an exception given. Exception is given. It's given right here. Except for the deep sea hydrothermal ecosystem, sun is the only source of energy for all ecosystem on earth. Did all of you ignore this? You're reading NCERT. Every single line is a tricky thing here for you to understand. See, this is the line which I was talking. This is the line I'm talking here. Okay. One of the incident solar radiation, less than 50% of its photosynthetic active radiation. Understand this concept. Okay. Understand the concept, you understand. Okay. Understand all of you? Ready? One small concept I'll teach you right now. Here I have sun. Here I have a plant. Let's say I have a plant here. Tell me which phyllotaxy is this? Which phyllotaxy is this, students? Is it alternate or is it opposite? Tell me, phyllotaxy. Okay, I have a plant here. Out of the total solar radiation, only 50% can be absorbed by the plants. Out of the total solar radiation, only 50% can be absorbed. Can be. Doesn't mean it will. It doesn't mean it will. Out of the total solar radiation, 50% is absorbed by the plants. And this is called as PAR. Can be. This is a beautiful word. Can be absorbed by the plants. That's called as PAR. That is photosynthetically active radiation. Photosynthetically active radiation is a range between 400 to 700 nanometer, which can be absorbed by the plants. Can be is a very important one there. This is called as your PAR. Photosynthetically active radiation, 400 to 700 nanometer, almost 700 nanometer. This is called as PAR. But just because it can, will it absorb all the 50%? No. Plants are very picky. Out of this 50%, plants are only absorbing 2 to 10%. That's all. Out of this 50% of PAR, which can be absorbed, how much are the plants absorbing? Plants are only absorbing around 2 to 10%. which plants are absorbing and producing photosynthesis. And let me tell you, this 2 to 10% right here, this 2 to 10% right here of energy absorption, based on this energy absorption, the entire life on earth is surviving. Life on earth is surviving, except your algae. Okay, life is just surviving. If plants did not absorb this 2 to 10%, no food for us, no food for the herbivores, no food for the chicken. No, there is no chicken biryani for you, no mutton biryani for you. So this 2 to 10% plays a major role. Okay, 2 to 10% plays a major role. All of you are understanding the gravity of your concept here. 2 to 10% out of this 50% of PAR, out of the total sunlight, plants are absorbing. Plants are absorbing. Okay, I believe all of you are able to understand the gravity of this 2 to 10%. So important it is. See here, of the incident solar radiation, less than 50% of it is photosynthetically active radiation, PAR. It is called as your PAR. We know that plants and photosynthetic bacteria, autotrophs, fix sun's radiant energy to make the food for simple inorganic material. Plants capture only 2 to 10% of the PAR, and this small amount of energy sustains the entire living world. So it is very important to know that how the solar energy captured by the plants, all random things here, very simple. That is, all organisms are dependent on their food on producers, either directly or indirectly. For example, deer is eating the grass, direct involvement. Lion is eating the deer, indirectly it is eating the plants. Okay, so all of you are able to understand right now. Yes or no? Yes or no? Quickly tell me in the chat. It's called a PAR. Okay. Now, further ecosystems are not exempted from the second law of thermodynamics. Second law of thermodynamics says that energy has to be always be provided to make sure to counteract the entropy, to counteract the randomness of the universe. Energy has to be always given. Okay. Furthermore, it needs a constant supply of energy to synthesize a molecule they require to counteract the universe tendency towards the increasing disorderness. The green plants in the ecosystem are called as producers. In a terrestrial ecosystem, major producers are herbivores. Major producers are herbivores. In terrestrial ecosystem, major producers are herbivores and woody plants. Herbaceous and woody plants. Basically plants. Basically the plants. Something my herbivores are the plants. Likewise, producers in an aquatic ecosystem are various species like phytoplanktons and algae and higher plants. So, in the case of your terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic. In the case of your terrestrial ecosystem, we have the plants plus the woody plants also. The herbaceous plants and woody plants. In the case of aquatic ecosystem, we have the algae, phytoplanktons, algae and phytoplanktons, and also some plants are also there, submerged plants, and also some submerged plants in the case of aquatic ecosystem. It's herbaceous, not herbivorous, herbaceous. Okay, you have read about the food chain and food web that exists in the nature. All of you are aware, right? All of you are aware of the food chain? Yes sir, we are aware of the food chain. All of you know food chain. All of you know the basic food chain in our ecosystem. Okay, that exists in the nature. Starting from the plants or producers, food chain or rather food web are formed such that animals feed on the plants or on another animals, and in turn is a food for another animal. That is, understand, here I have a plant. This plant can be eaten by a grasshopper. This grasshopper can be eaten by a frog. The frog can be eaten by a snake. Can be eaten by a snake. That is, this animal, this insect can eat this, and this insect is also eaten by the frog. Inten frog is eaten by the snake. Simple food chain. Simple food chain. Okay. No energy that is trapped in an organism remains in it forever. It is keep on transferring. Imagine if no one is eating this grasshopper. What will happen if no one is eating the grasshopper? This grasshopper will eventually die. And nutrients are sent to the soil. From the soil, the nutrients are taken up by the plants again. Okay. Now, it is either passed on to the consumer or the organism dies. Death of an organism is the beginning of the detritus food chain. So wherever it dies, wherever the organism dies, at that point, at this point right here, we have detritus food chain. DFC is starting. DFC is starting at this point here. Okay. Now, all animals depend on plants, directly or indirectly, for their food. Students, all of you, are you consumers or producers? Tell me in the chat. All of you are consumers. Some of you are vegetarian, herbivores. Some of them are omnivorous. Some of you are herbivorous. Some of you are omnivorous. Yes, no one is carnivorous. I believe no one is carnivorous in you. Okay. Or also, consumers are also called as heterotrophs because we depend on the plants, autotrophs. If they feed on the producers, the plants, they are called as primary consumers. Okay. Something called as primary consumer. And if the animals eat other animals, which in turn eat plants, they're called producers. They're called as secondary consumer. Likewise, you will have the tertiary consumer too. Obviously, primary consumers will be herbivores. Some common herbivores are insects, birds, mammals. Understood? This is a very beautiful concept. Understand? Beautiful concept here. Understand, all of you. Understand? There is something called as a primary consumer, first of all. Students, this paragraph which I'm able to write, I'm going to write right now. What I'm going to write right now is going to be very important for you. Write down with me. Learn this thing right now. Do not keep it as a backlog. The very important point coming up. There is something called as a primary consumer. There is something called as a primary consumer. Okay. Something called as primary consumer. Then we have the producer here. We have the producer here. Okay, primary consumer. Then we have something called as secondary consumer. Then we have something called as tertiary consumer. And so on. And quaternary consumer and so on, friends. Depending on the food chain, it can change. Okay. Now understand, a primary consumer is directly eating the producers. And who are the producers here? Producers are the plants. If a primary consumer is directly eating the plants, it is called as a herbivores. It is called as a herbivore. It is called as your herbivore. It is called as herbivore, directly eating the plant. If secondary consumer is eating the primary consumer, such an animal is called as your carnivore. It's called as carnivore, or we can also have omnivores here. Okay. Best way to remember is people who eat veg food, people who eat non-veg food. Okay. I believe this much you understood, all of you. Now, usually the quaternary carnivore is usually a top carnivore. It is a top carnivore. Students, till here, I believe all of you are understanding. It's very easy till now to understand. Very easy to understand till now. Now, I'm going to add one more layer to it. Now, I'm going to tell you something extra. That is, this primary consumer is eating the plants. Is it a carnivore now? No. Carnivore starts from secondary consumer. So can I tell the secondary consumer is called as primary carnivore? At the same time, tertiary consumer is called as your secondary carnivore. Secondary carnivore. So if I ask you in examination sometimes they will never give you something called as secondary consumer. They'll not give tertiary consumer. If they tell you what is primary carnivore, what will be your answer? Tell me, students. What is a primary carnivore? Tell me, students. Who is a primary carnivore? Primary carnivore is always a secondary consumer. Secondary carnivore is always a tertiary consumer. Tertiary consumer. Always, always, always. Then same thing. Tertiary carnivore is for quaternary consumer. Now I'll add one more layer to it. Understand? One more layer. This is first tropic level. This is second tropic level, third tropic level, fourth tropic level, and fifth tropic level. First tropic level, second tropic level, third tropic level, and fourth tropic level. Now, students, follow this very, very carefully. This is the only thing that you need to understand. Think a little. When I say an animal is in your third tropic level, primary carnivore, secondary consumer, this entire thing should come to your mind. Okay. Now, students, do you need a small hack or a small trick to remember this? Tell me. Do you need a small trick to remember this? I have a small trick here. Do you want or not? Tell me, all of you. Do you want a small trick here? Which will help you to remember everything. Which will help you to remember this entire process. Can I tell you? Because in examination they will always tell you with respect to a carnivore. You see any question, students, you see most of the questions is always with respect to carnivore. With respect to a carnivore always. So understand a small trick here is understand. A carnivore can be represented by n. Is represented by n. Now, if you want to find a carnivore, which consumer it is, for example, which carnivore is which consumer? Understand. Which carnivore is present at which tropic level or which consumer it is. For if you want to find this carnivore is present at which consumer, the simple formula is n plus 1. What if I want to find the tropic level? Tropic level is n plus 2. Simple. Now, for example, I'll give you. We'll try. Tell me, what is the tropic level of a tertiary for a secondary carnivore? Tell me, students. Tell me, all of you. Tell me, what is the tropic level of a secondary carnivore? See, n is going to be 2. Now. So 2 plus 2 is fourth tropic level. Okay. So what if I say the carnivore is okay? What is the consumer? Which consumer is it? So your secondary carnivore is which consumer? Secondary carnivore is n plus 1. So tertiary consumer. So secondary carnivore is tertiary consumer. Beautiful, right? Tell me, all of you understanding? This is called as a small trick to remember the consumer level, because in examination you have very less time. And in examination, what happens is, when they give you a long question of 10% law, when they give you a 10% law question, and they will ask you the organism is at it's a quaternary carnivore, secondary consumer. Let's say it is a secondary carnivore, At fourth tropic level, what is the energy? If they give you what is the energy? So this will help you to understand and solve question. Okay, I'll give you ask one more question. Tell me what is the consumer level of a primary carnivore? What is the consumer level of a primary carnivore? So you will say n is 1, n is 1. So for consumer it is n plus 1. So n plus 1 is 2. So it is a secondary consumer. Primary carnivore is secondary consumer. Understood all of you? Understood? Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, see here. The consumer that feeds on these herbivores are carnivores, or more correctly, primary carnivore. See, told you, primary carnivore is coming here. Primary carnivore is a carnivore which is feeding on the herbivores. Feeding on the herbivores. Those secondary consumers, see, also it is called as secondary consumer. It is called as secondary consumer, primary carnivore. Beautiful lines. I feel you should understand, if with the help of this chart, you will be able to understand these lines. See here. Primary carnivore, those secondary consumer. Those animals that depend on the primary carnivore for the food are labeled as secondary carnivore. Secondary carnivore depend on the primary carnivore. Secondary carnivore depend on the primary carnivore for food. Okay. Now, a simple food chain is given here. Simple food chain. Grass, goat, man. Primary consumer, secondary consumer. Secondary consumer is what, students? Tell me. Secondary consumer is which carnivore? Tell me all of you. A secondary consumer is which carnivore? A secondary consumer is always primary carnivore. So here we have primary carnivore here. Primary carnivore. Okay. Primary carnivore. Now, what is DFC? DFC is called as detritus food chain. DFC is called as detritus food chain. It begins with dead organic matter and it is made up of decomposers which are heterotrophic organisms and also saprophotic mode of nutrition, mainly fungi and bacteria. They meet their energy and nutrient required by the degrading and dead organic matter and detritus. These are also known as saprotrophs. Decomposers secrete digestive enzymes and break down the dead and waste matter into simple inorganic matter. We learned all this in decomposition. Okay. Now students understand what is a food web. When detritus food chain and grazing food chain, when they are interconnected, that is called as food web. That is called as food web. Okay. So when grazing food chain and detritus food chain are interconnected. In aquatic ecosystem, GFC is a major contact for energy flow. Against this terrestrial ecosystem, as much larger fraction energy flows through detritus food chain than grazing food chain. Oh, very important lines. Very, very important lines. All of this can be a question, students. All of this can be a question. In your aquatic ecosystem, okay, the major energy is flowing through. Grazing food chain. Okay. At terrestrial ecosystem, in terrestrial ecosystem, major energy is flowing through your detritus food chain. Okay. In terrestrial, DFC has more energy. Aquatic, GFC has more energy flow. Okay. Detritus food chain may be interconnected with grazing food chain at some levels. Interconnected, it becomes food web. Okay. Some animals like cockroach, crow, etc. are omnivorous. These natural interconnections of food chain make the food web. See, connections are called as food web. Done. Now students, now organism, I told you, in any food chain, everyone has a location. Everyone has a place. For example, if you're eating chicken directly, you have a location. If you're eating only plants, you are primary consumer. If you're eating chicken, you are secondary consumer. So everyone has a fixed place in a food chain, and the fixed place is called as a trophic level. Okay. So organisms occupy a place in natural surroundings or in a community according to their feeding relationship. You might have heard this in your school also, no? In school, we have front bench, middle bench, and last bench. Yes or no? Tell me, which bencher are you? Students? Are you a front bencher, middle bencher, last bencher? Tell me. in the chat. All of you drink some water now. All of you drink some water. Tell me which bencher are you? Now, I'll give a quick example. Based on the benches, based on which bench you are, the food habits also changing. Yes or no? Now, I'll tell you a quick example. If you are in the first bench, you will wait until lunch break. You will wait until lunch break. Okay. If you are a middle bencher, then you are eating the food in the class. When teacher is teaching, one turn back, food will go in your mouth. Second bench, middle bencher. If you are a last bencher, the food will get empty before even the school starts. Yes or no? If you are a first bencher, you will wait. Okay, wait, teacher is teaching, lunch break. Middle benchers will eat in the class only. They will eat in the class only, during the class. Last benchers, as soon as the food is entering the school, it is getting over. Okay, so based on the location also, the food habits are changing. Right? Right. So here also same thing happens. Feeding relationship with other organisms. Based on the source of these nutrients or the food, organisms occupy a specific place in the food chain that is called as food trophic level. Like first bencher, middle bencher, last bencher. That is called as your trophic level. Which bencher are you is a trophic level. Okay. Before lunch, I know. Now, producers belong to the first trophic level, plants. Herbivores belong to primary consumer, become to second trophic level. Carnivores are at secondary consumer. Carnivores, secondary consumer, third trophic level. Does it make sense, students? Does it make sense? Your carnivores, secondary consumers, third trophic level. Primary consumers, herbivores, second trophic level. Producers, plants, first trophic level. So if you want to understand the concept of your trophic level compared to the consumer and everything, this particular chart will help you a lot. So write down in your books and learn this. Otherwise, it can get confusing. Yes or no? Tell me. If you don't learn this properly, there's a very high chance that you can get confused. Okay. It is given here also. It's given here also. Can you see? All of you can see this? Yes or no? Tell me. Here we have your first trophic level, second trophic level, third trophic level, fourth trophic level. Tell me, this carnivore is which type of consumer? This carnivore right here is which type of consumer? Is he a primary consumer or secondary consumer? Tell me. Carnivore is a secondary consumer. It's given here. Secondary consumer. Okay. Which trophic level? First, second, third trophic level. Secondary consumer. Third trophic level. And secondary consumer. Okay. Now tell me, which type of carnivore it is? Is it the primary carnivore or secondary carnivore? Tell me, a primary carnivore or secondary carnivore? This is a primary carnivore now. It is a primary carnivore. Secondary consumer, primary carnivore. Okay, primary carnivore. Well, look at it. Read this question. Read this question. Okay, read this question. Okay, read this question. Read this question on the board right now. The question says that dash is the available biomass for consumption by heterotrophs in ecosystem. What does the heterotrophs get in ecosystem? Do they get gross? Do they get net? Do they get second productivity? Or do they get standing crop? Which is available to heterotrophs? Tell me. It is always the net. Net is getting to the plants. Net is given by the plants to the consumer. Okay. So net is given by the plants to the consumers. Okay. Now there is a concept called a standing crop. See, all of you know what is biomass. Biomass available at any point of time. That is called a standing crop. Standing state used to be that it has been deleted. But standing crop is biomass at any given time is called as your standing crop. Each trophic level has a certain mass. See, every trophic level, first, second, third, fourth, every trophic level has some mass. Okay, at a particular time, this is very important. At a particular time, that is called as your standing crop. Okay, these standing crops is measured as a mass of biomass or number of unit area. Okay, it can be expressed as fresh or dry. Okay, the number of trophic levels is in a grazing food chain is restricted to transfer of energy follows 10% law. Oh, now we come to something called as 10% law, also called as Lindman's law. Can you study? Can we start? There's something called as Lindman's law. Can we start, students? Lindman's law, also called as 10% law. Now, what is 10% law, students? For example, let's say I have your same food chain, always same food chain I take. Let's take, I have a plant here. Plant is eaten by a grasshopper. Grasshopper is eaten by your frog. Frog is eaten by snake. In this simple food chain, here we have, let's say, 1000 joules of energy. 90% is consumed by the plants, 10% is given to here. So 10% of 1000 is 100 joules here. 10% is sent to the next trophic level, 10 joules here. Snake, 1 joule. That's all. So every single time the energy is being transferred from one trophic level to the next trophic level, only 10% is transferred, 90% is consumed by the organism for respiration, for reproduction, for any other process. It has been consumed. Okay, so only 10% is transferred to the next trophic level. 10%. Okay, to the next trophic level. Setting crop, who knows? Okay, only 10% of the energy is transferred to the each trophic level from the lower trophic level in the nature, and it is always unidirectional. Okay, producers, herbivores, producers, herbivores, your primary carnivore, secondary carnivore in a grazing food chain. See, herbivores, producers, herbivores, primary carnivore, secondary carnivore. This is called as your grazing food chain 10% law. See, every single time food is being transferred, only 10% is transferred of energy transferred. Remaining 90% is released as heat. Read this question. The amount of living matter present at different trophic levels at a given time is called as, students, tell me, what do you call that? That is called as your standing crop, not sitting crop, standing crop. Which of the following best describes a food web? A group of bacteria interlinked and interdependent. A group of food chain interlinked and interdependent. A group of living organisms interlinked and interdependent. Transfer of energy from environment to the organisms. Tell me. That is answer. That is, multiple food chains are interconnected and they become the food web. Next chain. Okay, this is the question. Numerical. I'll give you 1 minute, 2 minutes. Let's take 1 minute only. Easy. Take 1 minute and solve it. 1 minute. I'll give you 1 minute. But I'm reading only. You should finish the question now. By what time I'm reading. Study the image and identify the amount of energy available for eagle. If the amount of energy available for grasshopper is 2000 kilojoules. So grasshopper is how much, students? The grasshopper has 2000 kilojoules. 2000 kilojoules. So 10% is lost to the python. Python will get 200. By the time we come to eagle, 20. What is the answer? Tell me. Grasshopper. Oh, grasshopper. Should one second. Grasshopper. Grasshopper. No. 2,220. Tell me. 2 kilojoules. Now, students, I'll repeat. I'll change the question now. I'll change the question now, and I'll ask you one more question. Okay. Tell me, if the grasshopper, has, let's say, the same 2000 kilojoules, what is the energy present at? What is the energy present at? Let's say, secondary carnivore. Secondary carnivore. Tell me. Energy present at secondary carnivore. Carnivore is said to be N. Okay. N plus 2, we'll get tropic level. N plus 2 is 3. N is secondary, 2 plus 2 is 4. So fourth tropic level. Secondary carnivore, 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 tropic level. First, second, third, fourth here. Okay. This is Python at 4 tropic level. So here, this is your Python is technically your secondary carnivore. Primary carnivore, herbivores, primary carnivore, secondary carnivore. Here I have 2000, here I have 200, here I will have 20. Python is the answer. 20 is the answer that time. Are you getting it, students? Are you getting it now? The question is, what energy is produced at, how much energy is produced at your secondary carnivore? Secondary carnivore. So primary carnivore, secondary carnivore. Okay. What if I ask you how much energy is produced at top carnivore? That time is the answer, top carnivore. What is the energy at your, let's say, producer level? Tell me, students, how much energy is present at producer level? Now, producer level. Tell me, how much of energy is present at producer level? If I have 2000 here, so here I should have 20,000. Yes or no? 20,000. 20,000. At producer level, 20,000. Understood? See this question again. If 20 joules of energy is trapped at producer level, okay, 20 joules at producer level, 20 joules at producer level, okay, then how much energy will be available to peacock as a food in the following food chain? How much energy is sent to the peacock? 10%. Why you don't tell me the answer quickly? Say 20 to 2 to 0.2 to 0.02. 0.02 joules. Yes or no? 20 to 0.2, 0.02. So 0.02, A is the answer. A is the answer. Okay. Plants capture only -% of the photosynthetically active radiation, only 2 to 10% of PAR. 2 to 10% of PAR. Do this question, all of you. Quickly. I'll give you some time. Easy question again. For example, primary producer is always grass. Primary consumer is going to be your goat. Secondary consumer is going to be wolf. Tertiary consumer is going to be lion. So A is going to be 2. A is going to be 2. Tertiary consumer. Only one option is there. Only one option is there. Option number 4. Okay. Option number 4. So students, with that, we come to the last topic for today's class. And with that, chapter is over. If you attend the last lecture for the next, let's say 15 minutes, the chapter is done. So are we ready for the last part of this today's lecture? Last part of today's lecture. That is your something called as ecological pyramids. And let me tell you, all of you Open your book and write here plus 4 marks. All of you write down plus 4 marks here because many questions have come from here. Plus 4. Okay, plus 4 in your books right now because many questions have actually come from here. And if you're able to solve this question, if you're able to solve this, you will be able to get good marks. And with that, chapter will be done. Okay, now you must be familiar with the shape of the pyramid, yes or no? This is a typical shape of a pyramid. In a shape of the pyramid, this is called as a base. This is called as the base, which is much more broader, and the top part is called as the apex. It is called as apex. Okay, broad at the base and apex at the top. One get a similar shape whether you express a food or energy relationship between organisms at different tropic level. For example, first tropic level, second tropic, third, fourth, fifth, top tropic level. First tropic level, second, go on. The base of each pyramid represents the producers on the first tropic level. So, first one is called as what? First tropic level, bottom. While the apex represents the tertiary or top carnivore or top consumer level. Three types of ecological pyramids that are usually studied are pyramid of number, pyramid of biomass, and pyramid of energy. Pyramid of number, pyramid of biomass, as well as pyramid of energy. Three different pyramids. Each of them has a special character. Which of them can be inverted? Which of them can be always upright? All that we will learn in the next 15 minutes. Let's go. Okay. Ecological section has been deleted. Don't worry. First one is called as your typical pyramid of number. This right here is a pyramid of number right here on the board. Okay. As you can see, producers at the first level, primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer. As you can see, number at the producer level is very much. Plants are a lot, insects are a lot, secondary consumer a lot. But when we come to top position, there are very few in number. That is, this is an example of your grazing ecosystem. Only 3 top carnivores, usually lions are very rare compared to the insects and everything. Okay, nearly 6 million plants here, nearly 6 million plants. Top. Quick example is given here also. Large number of plants, insects, birds, snakes are very few. Compared to the birds, snakes are also very few. This is called as pyramid of number. In the grazing food chain, it is upright. It is upright. Now, can students, I'll ask you a simple question. Can the pyramid of number be inverted? Tell me, can the pyramid of number be inverted? Is it possible? Can the pyramid of number be inverted anytime? Yes, it is possible. Okay. Pyramid of number can be inverted also. Simple example. It also can be spindle also. Spindle is also given your syllabus. Let me show you where. It is given your syllabus. But let me tell you, pyramid of number can be inverted. We can have one tree. Yes, there is a single tree. A single tree can have many birds. Many birds will have many parasites on them. Inverted. So pyramid of number can be inverted. Pyramid of number can be spindle also. Okay, can be spindle. A large tree, many birds. Hawks are also very few. Few hawks. Okay, so it can be spindle or inverted. Then we have pyramid of biomass, which is upright here. And pyramid of biomass is upright in the case of your grazing food chain. Upright in the case of GFC, grazing food chain, or terrestrial. Not grazing, let's say terrestrial. In the case of terrestrial ecosystem. In the case of terrestrial ecosystem, it is upright. Biomass. As you can see, primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer. Biomass is decreasing here as we go up. Okay, because very few in number also. Now, the pyramid of biomass can also be inverted. Pyramid of biomass can also be inverted. Here's an example, and this is seen where? This is seen in the case of your, not given here, in the aquatic condition. In the aquatic condition. Friends, all these examples are very important. Questions have come on this. In the case of aquatic ecosystem, it is inverted. Now you ask me why, sir? Why in the case of aquatic ecosystem it is inverted? Why? Right? How do you explain this? Why is it inverted? Very simple answer. Very simple answer. Phytoplanktons, tell me, do you think they have a very large biomass or very less biomass? Phytoplanktons. See, they may be high in number. They may be high in number, but they are microscopic. They are microscopic. And with that being said, since they are microscopic, they have very small size. Small size. And second main reason is the life cycle is very short. Is short. The life cycle is very short. They're finishing the life cycle in a very less time. So the biomass of your producers, that is your phytoplankton, is very less. And for the very same reason, compared to a whale, shark, or your killer whales, the biomass of them is very high. So it is always inverted in the case of aquatic ecosystem. Now, what about pyramid of energy? Pyramid of energy is always and always upright. There is no exception. There is no exception here. You cannot take the energy and it's like give back to the sun. Not possible. Not possible. Pyramid of energy is always and always upright and unidirectional. Okay, can you see here? 10,000, 1,000, 100, 10. Can anyone tell me what exactly is this? This right here is your 10% law. 10% law. Right here. 10% law. Okay. We all figured this. Any calculations of energy content, biomass or number has to be included in all organisms at the tropic level. So, if you include all the organisms are very important. No generalization as we will be able to do if you take only a few individuals at any tropic level. So, any pyramid right now, any pyramid right here is always with respect to a population, not individuals. Not individuals. It is always respect to with the population. Okay. Yes, pyramid of energy is always upright. Also, a given organism may occupy more than one tropic level possible, omnivorous. One must remember that a tropic level represents a functional level, not at species such. It is always at population level usually. A given species may occupy more than one tropic level at the same ecosystem at the same time. For example, sparrow. Sparrow is a primary consumer when it is eating seeds. The same sparrow, when it starts eating insects and worms, it becomes a secondary consumer. So students understand, a sparrow when it is eating fruits and seeds, and the same sparrow when it is eating insect and worms, it is acting different. When it is eating the fruits and seeds, it is primary consumer, and also it is herbivores here. Herbivores. When it is eating insect and worm, it becomes secondary consumer, and also it becomes a primary carnivore. It becomes a primary carnivore here. Okay, so remember these points. Now, this right here table is NEET PYQ treasure box. And students, those of you don't know what is treasure box, let me tell you. Those of you don't know what is a treasure box, understand. Every single notes of for all our lectures is given in a sheet with PYQs, with question practice, with a quiz given to you in the description. So go check out today's description. You will find something called a treasure box. And students, if you want to join my Telegram channel, all of you know, right? This is my Telegram channel. On this Telegram channel, I usually update notes and everything on this Telegram channel also. Okay, if you want to talk to me and all, this is a Telegram channel. Okay. Now, in most ecosystems, all pyramids are number of energy and biomass are upright. Producers are more in number and biomass than herbivores. Okay, biomass than the herbivores. And herbivores are all more in number and biomass than carnivores. Also, energy is at lower tropic level is always more than the high tropic level. Okay, there are exceptions to this generalization. If you were to count the number of insects feeding on a big tree, do we have a lot of insects or less insects? Tell me. See, here one big tree. On this one big tree, we have many insects. Yes or no? Many insects on one big tree. What kind of pyramid would you get? On this big tree, we will also have certain birds also. Birds. See here. Pyramid you obtain. Now add estimate of number of small birds depending upon the insect. So big tree, insects, birds. tree, insect, birds, and this is a pyramid which you get of pyramid of number. Okay, so such exceptions are there. So remember students, pyramid of number is upright. Pyramid of number is upright in the case of your terrestrial. Pyramid of number is inverted also in many cases. In a tree example, pyramid of biomass is upright in the case of your land. Pyramid of biomass is inverted in the case of where? Aquatic. Yes, and pyramid of energy is always upright. Pyramid of energy is always and always upright. Okay. Hello DJ Lulu, after a long time. Now students, the pyramid of biomass in sea is generally inverted. See, because the biomass of fishes far exceeds that of the phytoplanktons. Okay. Now, pyramid of energy is always upright and can never be inverted. Because the energy flows from particular trophic level to next trophic level, some energy is always lost as a heat at each step. Each bar in the energy pyramid indicates the amount of energy present at each trophic level per unit area. Okay. However, there are certain limitations. That is, limitations or drawbacks. Drawbacks of pyramids, ecological pyramids. What are the drawbacks? The first drawback here is understand. Does not take into account the same species belong to two or more trophic level. One species can belong to multi-trophic level, and this is not considered. One species can belong to multiple trophic level, and this concept is not understood only. And second thing is, okay, it assumes a simple food chain. It will assume a simple food chain, because in nature we do not have simple food chain, right? In nature we have complex food webs, we have complex structures. We do not have a simple food chain, right? We do not have a simple food chain. Second drawback, sometimes almost never existence of in nature. Okay, which never exists. It does not accommodate the food web. See, it is not taking the food web into existence. Moreover, saprophytes are not given any place in ecological pyramids. Third thing is, saprophytes are not included. Are not included. Those are the three drawbacks of your ecological pyramids. Three major drawbacks of your ecological pyramids, students. Ecological pyramids. Done. And with that, students, your chapter is over. Here are a few questions. Pyramid of energy is always upright and it is most efficient. Yes. Pyramid of biomass in sea is generally inverted. Yes, it is inverted. Both are correct. Next question. Which of the following statement is not correct with respect to pyramids? Pyramid of energy is always upright. Correct. Pyramid of number in grassland ecosystem is upright. Number in grassland. Okay, correct. Pyramid of biomass in sea is generally inverted. Pyramid of biomass in sea is generally upright. No, it is inverted. In the pyramid of biomass in sea is inverted. This is the wrong statement. Which of the following statement is incorrect again? I'll give you 10 seconds. Start solving. Biomass decrease from first to fourth trophic level. Biomass decreasing. Biomass is always decreasing from the first trophic level to fourth trophic level. Friends, energy content can never increase from frog to snake or from plant to snake. Energy will always decrease. 10% law. So energy cannot increase. It can only decrease. Okay. Last question for students. Last question. Let's see who will solve first. Last question. What type of ecological pyramid would be obtained with the following data? Start. I'll give you 10 seconds, 20 seconds you take and solve this question. 20 seconds you take. This was a very, very good question here. Very good question here. You need to draw the pyramid and then answer. Draw the pyramid and then answer. Last question on the board. Last question on the board, students. Okay, let's take a primary producer as 10 grams. Primary producer. Okay, primary producer is here at 10 grams. Primary consumer is at 60 grams. Primary consumer. Secondary consumer at 120. Secondary consumer at 120. It is a grams, so it is a biomass. It's a pyramid of biomass, not number, not energy. It is upright or inverted? It is inverted. It is inverted. Option number 1. And students, with that, one short lecture of the ecosystem is done and dusted. Now, with this being said, students, I want everyone to recap the chapter one more time. Watch the lecture one more time in a fast forward 2x, 1.5x. Watch the lecture one more time. Anywhere you get a doubt, you stop, ask, and clear the doubt. And if you want to solve more questions, students, go to the treasure box, NEET treasure box. Many quiz, many different types of questions, PYQs, everything is available in the NEET treasure box. It is given in the description, and please go solve it. Okay, so I want everyone to comment in today's video, ecology done and dusted finally. Ecology done and dusted, everyone. Yes or no? Do you truly feel that? Do you truly feel that every single line of NCERT is covered? Every single thing you have done right now? So only thing is matter of solving questions, revision, and done and dusted. So okay. So thank you so much, students, for today's class. I will see you in the next video. All the notes are available on the Baswaraj Sir Biology. And bye bye, take care, and have a great day ahead of you. Bye bye.